Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the TechieNet vlog. Yes, it's been a while. So last time, okay, before we even start last time, if you're a new visitor, we encourage you to subscribe because we usually share tips and tricks on how to prepare for your business analysis exam, Scrum Master exam, project management exam, and if you are a returning visitor, thank you so much. So, the last time we looked at strategy analysis and we talked about introduction, telling us that strategy analysis is when you have something you want to achieve and the way you want to plan to go about achieving those. Okay, that's your strategy. So, let's say that you have a project and you don't know anything about the project and you can't just jump in right into it as a business analyst, even as a project manager, even a scrum master. What do? You have to, know what's up, like currently, what is obtainable currently. Then before you now say, okay, I think you guys will need this, or we recommend this and that. Correct? So that is what we're going to do today. We're going to look at analyze current state. Yes, this is one of my favorite parts when it comes to business analysis. Looking at what is obtainable, going into the field to do have a demo, talk with business and all whatnot. Okay, so the input here would be a elicitation result. You've elicited, all right. You've collected requirements and all whatnot. So you are looking at that elicitation result. Confirm what are the needs, or when it comes to elements. So business needs, organization structure and culture, capabilities and processes, technology and infrastructure, policies that are in place currently, business architecture, internal assets, external influencers. Then as output, you would have current state description. Okay, so we are trying to analyze the current state. So now output will be current state description, then also business requirements. So let's jump right into BABOK. So now, just a disclaimer to let you know that we're not sponsored or paid by IBA or PMI or even Scrum.org. We are just running through all these tests, sharing our knowledge. These tests, they don't belong to us. Okay, we are independent. So yeah. So analyze current state. What is the purpose of you as a business analyst to analyze current state? So the purpose of analyzing current state or analyze current state is to understand the reason why an enterprise needs to change some aspect of how it operates and what would be directly or indirectly affected by the change. This is superb, on point. Now, why do you want to know the current state of a business or current state of whatever you want to help a business with? Simple. Is to know what is obtainable, what they are doing currently, and even to know, do they actually need the change? Actually, yeah, these are the questions you have to be asking yourself. For example, you come in, they need to have a website, they've been doing yellow pages, and the current state is that they are doing yellow pages, they are writing, putting things on paper and all whatnot, and it's flying all over the place, it's getting lost and all whatnot. Okay, so it's so clear. Now, description. The starting point for any change is an understanding of why the change is needed. Yes, for you as a business analyst, you need to understand why this change is needed. Potential change is triggered by problems or opportunities that cannot be addressed without alerting the current state. Yes, like, oh, we are losing our documents, we don't even know where this record is, we don't, but now they need a repository whereby everything can be gathered online, even maybe saved on drive or on the cloud. Okay, business analysts work to help stakeholders to enable change by exploring and articulating the business needs that drive the desire to change. So you come in, you'll try to understand the business need, you articulate it, and you know how to drive this change, okay, or the desire. Without without clearly understood business needs, it is impossible to develop a coherent strategy, and the result change initiative is almost certain to be driven by a mix of conflicting stakeholders' demands. Yes, when you don't, have a clear-cut understanding of the needs, there will be confusion here and there. People will bring in ideas and all, and you'll be taking everything. But when you have a clear motion of what you need to achieve or what the issue is here, you know what to take and what not to take. You even go ahead to drive it in such a way that you make this point clear to everybody so that people, when they are coming forward with stuff, they know where to take those from. Okay, change always occurs in a context of existing stakeholders, processes, technology and policies which constitute the current state of the enterprise. So just telling you that when it comes to change, like it always occurs in a context, that is in a situation whereby you have existing stakeholders. They are the ones that come before towards you for the change. Need already, they have a process. Yes, they have business, they exist with process. The only thing is you are now looking at, is this process workable? Is this process even working for you? Can the new change even live in this process? Okay, so this is where you become more analytical. Now, technology, they have existing technology, whether it is paper, it is their technology. Okay, and policies, yes. Yeah. Every business is driven by their policies, which constitute the current state of the enterprise. Business analysts examine the current state in the context of the business needs to understand what may influence proposed changes and what will be affected by them. Yeah. So you as a business analyst, they throw you into this ocean, or into this sea of existing stakeholders, processes, technology, policies. Now, what is your job? Your job is to look at it. Your job is to also weigh whatever that is being brought in, whatever you are doing, whatever change that is coming, how it will impact or how it will affect all this process. So you are working with what the stakeholder has currently. This current state is explored in just enough detail to validate the need for a change and or to change strategy. So you are looking at their current state to determine if they actually need this change, and also to determine or to recommend a change strategy. So, understanding the current state of the enterprise prior to the change is necessary to identify what will need to change to achieve a desired future state and how the effect of the change would be assessed. Remember, whatever change you are bringing in, it would affect your stakeholders, it will affect their policies, their process, all over their technology. So you are not just bringing in change, you are doing a hell lot of things, okay, at the same time. The scope of the current state describes the important existing characteristics of the environment. Yes, whatever the current state would cover, it describes the important existing characteristics of the environment. Yes. So the boundaries of the current state scope are determined by the components of the enterprise and its environments as they relate to the needs. So whatever the environment relates to the needs. So you should be mindful not to go out of this. Okay. So that's why we are like streamline whatever you are doing. The current state can be described on different levels, ranging from the entire enterprise. So you can describe the current state depending on the ranging from the entire enterprise to small components of a solution. Remember, we said at the beginning of this that when it comes to projects, it could be enterprise wise, it could be let's say team wise, it could be branch wise, so the thing is, you every enterprise is strategic whenever they want to bring in change. So it could be aligned with the strategic maybe plan of the enterprise. Okay, creating a model of the current state might require collaboration throughout or outside the enterprise. Yes, you can't do this alone, it has to be done collaboratively. So for small effort, the scope might be only a small component of an enterprise. So it depends on, maybe are you working with a team? Are you working with just one stakeholder? Yeah. The, the current state of an enterprise is rarely static while a change is being developed and implemented. Yeah. Things change. You can wake up tomorrow and they say, oh, we are no longer doing this policy. We are taking this, or oh, we are taking this out, or this policy no longer, So things change. Internal and external influencers, as well as other organizational changes, can affect the current state in ways that force alterations in the desired future state, change strategy or requirement and design. So be on the lookout. The input elicitation results. Very, very important. So used to define and understand the current state. Yes, the elicitation result. You've collected your requirements, you've cleaned it up, you've validated it and all whatnot, and you now come back and you are using this for your strategy, needs. The problem opportunity faced by an enterprise organization often launches business analysis work to better understand these needs. Whatever you are doing when it comes to projects, you are trying to work with needs. So needs would always be recurring throughout here. So analyze current state, input output diagram. So for guidelines and tools, you have the business analysis approach. What approach do you want to take? Enterprise limitation, there are enterprise limitations, organization strategy. What is, when it comes to the organization, what's their strategy? Solution limitation. So what are the limitations of the solution? Solution performance goals, solution performance measures, stakeholder analysis results. So when it comes to input, you have the needs, elicitation results confirmed. And then tax will be analyzed current state, output, current state description, business requirement, tax using this output, which you would see down the line or even backwards. When you trace backwards, it will be plan stakeholder engagement, business plan, business analysis, governance, define future state, assess risk, define change strategy, analyze potential value, and recommend solution. Assess enterprise limitation, recommend actions to increase solution value. Then, when it comes to tax using this output, it is define future state as well. So, payment. The number one element would be business needs. Business needs are the problems and opportunities of strategic importance faced by the enterprise. Yes, business needs, problem, what we want to achieve as a business, an issue encountered in the organization, such as customer complaints, a loss of revenue, or a new market opportunity, usually triggers the evaluation of a business need. Yes, for example, we come on one day, we chat, we look at our chart, and we notice that we are losing money. And we're like, oh my goodness, what do we do about this? It becomes a business need. We need to stop losing money, right? A business need may be identified at many different levels of the enterprise. Listen, from the top down. So it could be, those at the top, then trickle it down, a strategic goal that needs to be achieved. So at the beginning of the fiscal year, and the goal is we need to make more money because we notice this. So everybody would fall in line. From the bottom up, a problem with the current state of a process, function, or system. This is superb. So when you say bottom up, for example, let's say the frontliners, let's say the customer care service people, they notice that the system that we have been using maybe to attend to clients, it usually fails, or you get error messages when we try to input some fields and all whatnot. So immediately they flag it to maybe their supervisor. The supervisors flags it to the operations. They try to troubleshoot and all whatnot. They try to do operational changes and it's not working. They start moving it up, so that those at the top will know that this is an issue. So you see, the need is coming from bottom up. From middle management, a manager needs additional information to make sound decisions or must perform additional functions to meet business objectives. So it could be manager, the manager needs something and they take it up. So from external drivers, from your external stakeholders, let's say, for example, you run a telecommunications business, right? You own a telecommunications business, and you have external stakeholders that, let's say, plug into you to sell modems to people as well from you. So, and they notice that there's an issue and or no, they come back to you. Is currently a business need already. Customer demand or business competition in the marketplace. So it can also be a competition that you guys notice and you're like, oh, we need to meet our competitors. Okay. Now, moving on from there, the definition of business needs is frequently the most critical step in any business analysis effort. Very important. A solution must satisfy the business needs to be considered successful. So when you have a solution and it doesn't meet a business, is not successful. The way the need is defined determines which alternative solutions will be considered, which stakeholders will be consulted, and which solution approach will be evaluated. So the way you define your needs determines all this. Business needs are always expressed from the perspective of the enterprise and not that of any particular stakeholder. So no particular stakeholder owns a business need. Please be mindful. So it has to be the enterprise. Okay. So business needs are often identified or expressed along with a presumed solution. So, for example, we are not making money. We think this is the way we could, but now you as a business analyst, you now come in and help to, break this up, and help them recommend and all whatnot. The business analyst should question the assumptions and constraints that are generally buried in the statement of the issue to ensure that the correct problem is being solved and the widest possible range of alternative solutions are considered. This is perfect. So, telling you that please don't just take in everything at face value. Try to investigate, try to go in, permeate, like make sure that this is a need, make sure that even the suggestions that are coming forward, they are necessary, make sure so that you'll be able to, spread your tentacles when it comes to looking for solution. A solution to a set of business needs must have the potential to generate benefits for and the enterprise or its stakeholders or avoid losses that would otherwise occur. So just telling you whatever you are bringing to the table, please bring it. Make sure you do due diligence. Factors the business analyst may consider include adverse impacts the problem is causing within the organization and quantify those impacts. For example, potential loss, revenue inefficiencies, dissatisfied customers, low employee morale. So now you need to consider this as a business analyst. So the impact the problem is causing. So to what extent? Expected benefit from any potential value. So this is the impact. So what benefits are we even looking at? Potential value. For example, increased revenue, reduce cost, increase market share, whatever is bringing you are coming forward with should match. It should match the needs, how quickly the problem could potentially be resolved or the opportunity could be taken, and the cost of doing nothing, and on the underlying source of the problem. So you're analyzing, as a business analyst, there are some problems you don't do nothing, you don't do anything actually, to be honest. Because when you look at business, maybe you coming in with OCM, that's organization change management, you weigh them and you notice that, oh, business is actually not ready for a change, so you allow them. Okay. Business needs will drive the overall analysis of the current state, although it isn't necessary to fully detail all aspects of the current state before further developing the change strategy. This exploration would often uncover deeper underlying causes of the problem or the opportunity that triggered the investigation, which then becomes additional business needs. So, number two element will be organization structure and culture. Please don't overlook this. Organizational structure refines the formal relationship between people working in the enterprise. While communication channels and relationships are not limited to that structure, they are heavily influenced by it, and the reporting structure may aid or limit a potential change. Yeah, look at the organizational structure and culture. Know what you need, who you need to communicate with, and who can influence your project, and know how you can communicate with them, how you can relate with them, because your body language matters a lot. Because some people can even be triggered or even be like, oh, this person doesn't involve me and all whatnot. So know what you are supposed to do as a business analyst when it comes to that organization. Know people's culture, know respect, and all whatnot. Organization's culture is the belief, values, and norms shared by the members of an organization. Very important. These beliefs drive the actions taken by an organization. Business analysts perform a cultural assessment to identify if cultural changes are required to better achieve the goals. Yes, for example, there are some projects you bring forward and you weigh the cultural structure of the organization and be like, oh, they may not really like this, it may be difficult to impact. So you start, making some changes, knowing that like the culture of the organization doesn't align with the new project. Identify whether stakeholders understand the rationale for the current state of the enterprise and the value delivered by it. That this is mostly organizational change management, trying to make sure that they are aware of the issue and they want this change. Ascertain whether the stakeholders view the current state as satisfactory or if the change is needed. Capabilities and processes. Capabilities and processes describe the activities of an enterprise. An enterprise performs. They also include the knowledge the enterprise has, the product and services it provides, the function it supports, and then the method it uses to make decisions. Core capabilities of processes describe the essential functions of the enterprise that differentiate it from others. They are measured by performance indicators that can be used to assess the benefits of a change. So, business analysts may use a capability centric view of the enterprise when looking for innovative solutions that combine existing capabilities to produce a new outcome. So, what can the organization do? So, you are also matching it with the solution or recommendation. A capability based view is useful in this situation because capabilities are generally organized in a functional hierarchy with relationships to other capabilities, making it easier to identify any gaps. So you can do a capability centric view of the enterprise to know what they are capable of, what they have currently, what they can do. So, a process centric view of the enterprise when looking for ways to improve the performance of current activities. A process based view is useful in this situation because processes are organized in an end to end fashion across the enterprise to deliver value to its customers, making it easier to ensure that a change does in fact increase performance. So it could be process, it could be capability. So capability, you're looking at what they can do currently. Then process, you're looking at their process. Okay. Technology and infrastructure. Information systems used by the enterprise support people in executing processes, making decisions, and interactions with suppliers and customers. The infrastructure describes the enterprise's environment with respect to the physical components and capabilities. The infrastructure can include components such as computer hardware, physical plants, and logistics, as well as their operations and upkeep. Policies, very important. Policies define the scope of decision making at different levels of an enterprise. They generally address routine operations rather than strategic change. They ensure that decisions are made correctly, provide guidance to staff on permitted and appropriate behavior and actions, support governance, and determine when and how new resources can be acquired. Identification of relevant policies may shape the scope of the solution space and may be a constraint on the types of action that can be pursued. Business architecture, no part of the current state should be assessed in complete isolation from the rest. Please, very important. So look at everything holistically. Business analysts must understand how all of these elements of the current state fit together and support one another in order to recommend changes that will be effective. The existing business architecture typically meets as a segment of business and stakeholder needs. If those needs are not recognized or do not continue to be met by a proposed transition or future state, changes are likely to result in a loss of value. See everything as a whole in terms of how the architecture. Internal asset. Business analysts identify enterprise assets used in the current state. Resources can be tangible or intangible, such as financial resources, patent, reputation, and brand names. External influencers. These are external influences on the enterprise that do not participate in a change but might present constraint dependencies or drivers on current state. For example, the industry structure. Individual industries have distinct ways in which value is created within that industry. Competitors, your customers, suppliers, political and regulatory environment, very important. Technology, macroeconomic factors, the constraints and opportunity that exist within the existing and expected macroeconomic environment. So it can be an opportunity. So these influence whatever current when it comes to current state. So guidelines and tools. So you are looking at the business analysis approach. What approach? So it's the what would guide you would be the business analysis approach, the enterprise limitations. This you use this to understand the challenges that exist within an enterprise, organizational strategy, and the whatever enterprise you join, they have their strategy. So you need that to guide you. Solution limitation. Maybe you understand the current state and the challenges that exist currently. Solution performance goal are their measures or current, measures or baselines that are being set. Solution performance measures. This would guide you, describe the actual performance of existing solutions. Stakeholder analysis results. When you've analyzed your stakeholders, this would also guide you in understanding the current state. So the techniques, benchmarking and market analysis. Oh, this is very important. Provides an understanding of where there are opportunities for improvement in the current state. Specific frameworks that may be useful include five forces analysis. That's a pair step, catwalk, and others. Business capability analysis identify gaps and prioritizes them in relation to value and risk. Business model canvas provides an understanding of the value proposition that the enterprise satisfies for its customers, the critical factors in delivering the value, that value, and the resulting cost and revenue streams. Business cases used to capture information regarding the business need and opportunity. Concept modeling used to capture key terms and concepts in the business domain and define the relationship between them. Data mining used to obtain information on the performance of the enterprise, document analysis, financial analysis, focus groups, functional decomposition, interviews, item tracking, lesson learned, metrics, and key performance indicators, mind mapping, observation, organizational modeling, process analysis, process modeling, risk analysis and management, root cause analysis, scope modeling, survey and questionnaire, SWOT analysis, vendor assessment, workshops. Who are your stakeholders? You have your customer, you have your domain SME, you have your end users, you have implementation SME, you have your operational support, you have your project manager, regulator, sponsor, supplier, tester. And then what are the outputs? Current state description. So you want to analyze the current state, right? And now you have the current state description. The context of the enterprises, scope, capabilities, resources, performance, culture, dependencies, infrastructure, external influences, and significant relationship between these elements. Business requirements, the problem, opportunity, or constraint which is defined based on understanding of the current state. So soon we are going into define future state. So we've looked at what is obtainable now, what in terms of capability, in terms of process, we've looked at the elements, we looked at the tools and techniques that would guide you, and all what not you need to know about the current state. So when we go into define future state, you now start having more understanding of why you need to know what is obtainable now before you start looking at recommendations or solutioning. Thank you and see you soon.